So Titans fans, a very interesting video for you today because I'm going to be going over some of the showrunners' comments about what we can expect to see in Titans Season 2. I've been meaning to get this video out for a little while now because it includes the interesting comments about the use of Batman this season, because as some of you may know if you've been keeping up to date with my videos or other stuff online, apparently we are or were supposed to be getting him, but we'll get to those comments. But also, since the Nightwing kind of leak stuff has happened, which you may or may not know about, I wasn't going to do a whole video separately dedicated to that, so I thought I'd chuck in what I think about that and the Ravager suit leak at the beginning of this video as well. But as always guys, if you do not want to see the spoilers and everything like that, I will leave a timestamp on the video or in the comments down below where you can just skip to the comments that Greg Walker has made about Titan Season 2 and what we can expect, and then I'll give my opinion on all of what he has to say as usual in this video and a kind of breakdown. But as usual everyone, if you want to show your support for this channel and just the Titans content in general, I would really appreciate it if you'd leave a like on this video. As always guys, keep an eye out for my review tomorrow. It should be up an hour or so after the episode. Absolutely dying to give you my thoughts on this one. I can't say anything right now, but that's why you have to have notifications on by clicking the bell button on these little subscribey things so you never miss out on a Boba video. Before I talk about what Greg Walker has to say about Batman being used in this season and everything like that, let's get the cat out of the bag and talk about the leaks. As I said, I wasn't going to make a video about this, and I was kind of surprised how this first came about a few days ago, so I'm referring to the first leaks, and that was actually from Minka Kelly, which, as I said, I'm kind of surprised about, because I think it originated from maybe her Instagram story or something like that, and she did like a, one of those, just an Instagram story kind of selfie thing of her on set in the Dove suit. Donna Troy, or should I say Connor Leslie, was talking about something, and lo and behold, Brenton Thwaites, who as we know will be Nightwing this season, was in a jacket, but in the right lighting you can kind of see the little bluey bird symbol. Oh yeah, and as I said guys, there should be a timestamp on the screen in a text kind of format or in the pinned comments if you want to skip all of this and just head to the comments and the breakdown from the showrunner. But yeah, carrying on the Titans suit league talk, I was kind of surprised by that, just because, she's been kind of quite on top of anything that shouldn't get out there before on Instagram, whether that's through makeup artists, posting photos maybe they shouldn't do, and then she kind of does the Nightwing. So, I mean, I'm joking. I love Minka Kelly. I'm kind of confused there, but maybe it's just a thing behind the scenes where they're like, it's going to come out anyway, because at the minute, I believe the recent leak that you're probably seeing on screen right now, this is absolutely everywhere. I wouldn't cover this if this was, not known really as much. This was literally trending on Twitter last night with some very imaginative posts and comparisons to the comic book Dick Grayson, which, are interesting, but I think it looks very cool. I mean, as I said, there's not really much to say about the first leak from Minka Kelly. You could only really see a bit of the blue bird symbol, whereas this new leak, for some reason, you can only see it from the back. However, obviously, we get a much nicer look, the black and blue combo here. I think we can see them attached to the back of his belt there, which, I don't really have a problem with. I'm still waiting for close-up shots. This is why I didn't really want to go into mega breakdown here. I just wanted to show you guys or give you the opportunity to look at it if you wanted to. But of course, as well, I have to mention Ravager, which I am actually, as I said, waiting for a close-up shot, but this looks very, very intriguing and extremely comic book accurate. Of course, there are some differences, as I say, this is an adaptation. They kind of give their own little spin on it. You can't quite make out the belt. Like, does it have like a, little symbol on it, like a mask or anything like that? Maybe not. It's too blurry to tell. Her mask is very interesting as well, quite comic book accurate there. However, the eye is absolutely huge. It kind of reminds me of like, a Spider-Man kind of mask eye, which, I think it is definitely a little bit bigger than the usual kind of, white, eye that she, rocks in the comics, but, it's not really a big deal at all. But I do want to stress, if you have any hesitations about these suits or anything like that, these are very blurry leaks. Do not judge too harshly. If anything, mostly the reception to these leaks are being received very, very well, but I just, want you guys to remember these are going to look so much better, not only in motion, but up close. Don't forget, these are like quite a distance away. And as for Superboy, he looks largely similar to what we expected from this season, and from what we've even saw in the trailers. Obviously, he's got the top on there, but he's got like these fingerless gloves, which are very kind of Young Justice-y as well, except, you know, the t-shirt isn't really like a long sleeve t-shirt. I think the Nightwing suit won't be as early as what people necessarily think. If I recall, I said I would like it around episode 5 or 6, which could still be the case, but, you know, maybe this journey, this season, obviously last season was more about getting the Titans together, Dick Grayson kind of just creating that family, but now this season is about him discovering and still going on that journey, which involves Bruce Wayne and everything like that, but also, you know, forging these Titans, but also forging himself. He's not going to have it as soon as these first beginning episodes or anything like that. I would be surprised if they leave it to the last few episodes, so I'm thinking maybe 7 or 8, but it could still be episode 5 or 6. We'll just have to wait and stay tuned, I guess. But that's kind of all I'm going to say about these leaks, guys. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think it would be smart of them if they released a poster sometime soon, just because as I'm making this video right now, I'm still being sent even more brand new leaks and video clips of the Titans filming, and included now from the front, very, very blurry, you know, but it's only a matter of time, I think, until a good one comes out. So I think they should get ahead of that and release a really cool promo photo for what is inevitably to come with this season, which, you know, shouldn't be too surprising to the fans. So I don't think DC Universe should hold back on that. But let's move on to what Greg Walker had to say about Batman, because I really wanted to talk about this just because, you know, for the longest time, I even made a video from some behind the scenes kind of access people, if you will, and I did say take it with a grain of salt, because you never know at the end of the day, and I'm sure there was and were elements that were true and are true to this. For example, in how Batman, you know, Ian Glenn was being put into a Batman suit, or there was concepts and stuff like that, but there are still very much so limitations that are involved into making these shows, and things are subject to change all of the time, to be honest. If you're interested in reading all of the details from the respected websites, I'll leave all of that in the description down below. But the first thing I want to go over in relation to this Batman stuff is Greg Walker was asked, sweet, and regarding any past storylines with sidekicks, are you only just going to be mentioning their big name bosses, or do you get to show any of them? And he says, well, that's always a battle with DC, and I don't want to give anything away, but anybody who's had a movie is hard to get on our show, and I understand that. I mean, I understand that's the business. It doesn't mean we can't ask and try to sneak somebody in. There will be some surprises. But if you think you're going to see the Batmobile cruise up in the frame, you may want to go to the fridge, grab a cold drink, and then come back. Now hold that in your thoughts for a second, and this leads me into what he also said about, you know, Batman coming up this year. When talking about Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne, he says he's still Batman, we just don't see him with the cape and cowl running around, and the bat signal. We see versions of Bruce that are in the conscious world, and we see manifestations of Bruce that are at times not rooted in reality. People's imaginations of Bruce take on their own form. Bruce is many things to many people. And this is the most intriguing line. A limitation of the show is we can't have Batman. So we try to turn that into a lot of possibilities of kind of exploring Bruce and all the dimensions of Bruce. So there you have it, guys, from the mouth of Greg Walker himself. He says that the show has limitations and they can't use Batman. But this is the interesting thing. I've already had some people say, you know, showrunners lie, or, you know, kind of, you know, bend the truth to the point of almost a lie. And I'm not saying Greg Walker is lying here. I think, you know, what he just said there is way too definitive of a statement to say for him to just be really tiding people over until, like, you know, and trying to maintain a surprise element to the point of where Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne does suit up in season 2. Never say never. I mean, it's not impossible. But I think what he said there is pretty definitive. But that doesn't mean that there weren't, you know, elements of truth into this whole Ian Glenn maybe getting into the suit behind the scenes. I'm sure there was discussions and maybe even concepts and plans, maybe even a mock-up made. Maybe they had to scrap it because of the whole Batman 2021 stuff that's going on. And yes, you know, DC, you know, whether you call it petty or like fussy or controlling, things do change as easily as that when, you know, the property of the character of Batman is being used in a much bigger way. Believe it or not, it kind of happens. But you could also look at the wording that he's used there in terms of how Bruce is many things to many people, and people view him, and I'm paraphrasing now, but like view him in different ways. So they could still incorporate this in such a way that they've used Batman in season 1, like they managed to get away with through using him in the shadowy-esque form. So maybe saying that we'll still see in England Bruce Wayne in the bat suit, but it still might be in like this misconstrued way where it's not as actually, you know, real day stuff. I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself in speculation now, but I'm just trying to say that there might be still some elements of truth to this in other ways, in a similar way to what they did in season 1. But just also hearing his comments saying stuff like, it doesn't mean we can't ask and try to sneak somebody in, there will be some surprises. What I'm trying to think of there is like, please somehow incorporate a Lex Luthor cameo or something like that in terms of Connor Kent's storyline this season. As we know, he is the clone of two very interesting characters. We know we're getting Mercy Graves this season, so it just makes me think, what does he mean in terms of surprises? Let me know what you're most excited about in terms of what he could be saying there, you know, reading between the lines, if you will. But moving on from the Batman talk now, I want to read out a couple of more interesting things that you might find quite compelling about things coming up in this season to do with Deathstroke and more things. When talking about Deathstroke, he says that we're going to explore his relationships and what superheroes struggle with in relationships. Then we wanted to show Deathstroke's relationships as well. So we explore his relationships with his kids, Rose, who's Ravager, and Joey, aka Jericho. He discusses the worst out of the year jokes and goes on to say that we allow ourselves to go in to tell a little bit about Deathstroke's origin story in one episode, mostly to explore the psychology of Deathstroke in his family and how his becoming a super soldier and the creation of his identity, what that cost was for his family. So as we know, we've already seen Isaiah Morales already in Titans, but we haven't seen this episode that he's talking about yet. So as you can imagine, I'm sure just like many of you, I am insanely hyped to see how much of this origin that he's talking about here in terms of his creation of becoming the super soldier that he is. Are they actually going to film that transformation and other things, maybe parts of his military career? I just have so much hope and imagination and potential for this episode, you know, especially when Greg Walker is talking about it like this. When asked about Connor Kent and if Crypto would even fly, he said that I'm not going to say no on that one, although you won't see Connor fly. This is the Jeff Johns version of Connor Kent, which is he's a clone of Lex Luthor and Clark Kent's Superman. So it's an essential struggle that in many ways reflects some of the themes from season 1. His identity struggle is between good and bad, light and dark, and so there's a challenge that he will have in terms of who he is more of. How does he balance that inherent goodness and an inherent tendency toward terrorism? So as I said earlier with the whole Lex Luthor stuff, I'm mega hyped to see what they do with Connor Kent here. I think it's going to be an amazing role for Joshua to even play, balancing something like just what Greg Walker said between the genetics that he's actually literally having to deal with and just seeing how deeply rooted they explore that this season. Maybe they're going to hold even more stuff back for season 4 in terms of Lex, and maybe it'll be a bit of Mercy Graves this season, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But, you know, there's so much factors to this season that I feel like, you know, any comic fan would enjoy. But that's everything I wanted to talk about in this video, guys. There are actually even more questions that Greg Walker goes on to talk about and tease for Titan Season 2. So if you want to see all of those for yourself and read about them, I'll leave the links in the description down below. But let me know what you thought of everything I discussed in this video. What do you think of the leaks at the beginning? They're literally everywhere now. It's kind of unavoidable. So as I said, DC Universe, please release a poster and get out ahead of it, just because I think it's needed. I think even more detailed stuff's got to come out. So I think, yeah, we need a teaser. But, you know, are you excited for Nightwing? Does Ravager look okay to you? And also let me know what you thought about some of the teasers like Batman, and how apparently we're not going to get Batman because there's limitations in the show. Do you think that they still will somehow surprise us with Batman? Or do you think it really is very face value and we literally aren't, and it is truly more about Bruce Wayne this season, and, you know, they're using their limitations on Batman as an excuse to go fully fledged into the character of Bruce Wayne, which, if that's true, I don't blame them, because, like, hey, you can't use Batman, but that doesn't mean there isn't a load of material for Ian Glenn's Bruce Wayne to be explored with his relationship to Dick Grayson and the Titans, which makes sense to me. So if you guys could do me a favor, and especially if you got this far, leave a like on this video, as it really does show your support for the Titans content. As always, my review will be out tomorrow. Keep an eye out after when they release it. If you want to talk about Titans with me personally, guys, as I always say, I do have a Discord link that will be in the top pinned comment. Join my community there, so we can just, you know, fanboy out about all of this Titan stuff. But thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you Titans in the next video. Goodbye.